Hi, my name is Erin. Today I'm going to be sharing with you about my first experience traveling to India with my now fiance. I'll be sharing a little bit about our engagement and attending my first Indian wedding. There's going to be a lot of helpful information in this video if you are planning on traveling to India for the first time, especially for a wedding. I'll be going over topics related to travel, health and wellness, my expectations versus reality, and things I wish I would have prepared better for there. So with all that said, let's get into the video. I went to India for the first time with my fiance for his cousin's wedding. We stayed there for about 12 days, including flight times, and that's important to mention because it can take about 25 to 35 hours typically, and that depends on if you're taking 2 or 3 flights. Ours was closer to the 35-hour mark because we're flying out of Cincinnati, and we had to fly into Amritsar Airport. So those are 2 more locally based airports, so that's why it was a lengthy trip. While traveling India, I got the opportunity to visit multiple different cities, which was super cool. We flew into New Delhi. From there, we drove to Agra. We stayed overnight at the Oberoi property. That is where my proposal happened. And then the following morning, we went to the Taj Mahal. And then later that night, we flew back to Amritsar Airport, where we stayed in the Punjab region, and that is where the wedding and events were. My first impression of India, right as I stepped out of the airport I'm talking about, was that there were millions of people. I mean, not millions, but way more compared to like the US, even in some major cities I've been to. So that was a little bit jarring to me at first. I would say the smog. We actually went on like I guess it was a little bit of a rainy day, but there was a lot of smog and pollution in the area. And I had known about that before, but it's different when you're actually experiencing it. And the third thing is it's definitely a noisy city. There's a lot of honking and traffic going on. With that said too, if you're planning on driving anywhere within India, add like an additional half an hour at least to the trip, because there is a lot of traffic. I'm going to get more into the proposal details now. I get asked so many questions about this, so I'm just going to tell the full story, starting with, did I expect it to happen? So for a while, I had an idea it was going to happen, but as we got closer to the trip, I wasn't exactly sure, and I'll tell you why. So we originally were supposed to fly out a day earlier than we did. We missed our flight due to cancellations and delays. And we were only staying at this really nice Oberoi property one night. So I thought it was going to happen there. But my fiance, Sagar, he seemed very calm that like we missed it. Like he wasn't that upset about it. I feel like I was like more upset about it. So that kind of like threw me off a little bit, if that makes sense. I started to like not expect it just because he didn't seem like as upset on the outside. But little did I know he was working to move everything to the next day so that it could happen and be possible. And he worked with the resort and they made that happen, luckily. So we just flew out a day later and then moved all our plans at the resort to the following day. I did find out for sure that he was going to propose once I got there because we had a room with a balcony that overlooked the area that he was going to propose to me. It was like a private dinner by the pool area, and I saw that they were setting everything up. I did not say anything before. I told him this after, but I didn't want it to like spoil the mood or anything, you know. So I did find out right before that it was definitely going to happen, which I was super excited about and looking forward to. The actual dinner was amazing. They gave us, it was almost like a tasting. We had like 8 different masalas to try. They had appetizers. It was like so much food. We couldn't even eat it all, but it was so delicious. Like everything was amazing. Like I had never tried so much food and not like I didn't not like anything that I tried, if that makes sense. And that's like pretty rare for me. I'm a little bit picky, but the food in India was amazing, especially at this resort. I was also surprised by the spice level. It wasn't as like spicy as I thought it would be. Now I'm like a medium spice range person. I like it spicy but not too over the top. And most of the dishes were just like at the perfect amount of spice level for me. The next day we went to the Taj Mahal. Originally, like months before, we planned to go like super early so no one would be in our pictures and everything. But after the jet lag and all the traveling, we were like, yeah, let's just relax, go at a reasonable time when we wake up. And that worked out perfectly because I did not want to get up at the crack of dawn and get ready to take pictures at the Taj Mahal. So we went at a perfect time. It was like 12 p.m.-ish on a Monday. I think the Taj Mahal might be closed on Fridays too, so that's just a tip if you are traveling and planning to visit there. So be careful about which day and which season. In the summers, it could get very hot in India too, so just be mindful of that. The Taj Mahal was beautiful. We had our own private guide from the Apur properties. He taught us so much history about it. I'm not going to go too deep into that, but I definitely recommend getting a tour guide to explain everything to you throughout the process. Another thing I found interesting at the Taj Mahal, which I saw a lot on TikTok before I came, but a lot of people there did actually come up and ask to take some pictures with me. It was all little girls, which of course that was so cute. So I did get asked to take a lot of pictures, and I feel like that was an expectation that was confirmed for me. That did indeed happen to me, but that I thought it was cool. So from Agra, we drove back to New Delhi Airport, and I'm going to go on a little bit of a health tangent here because I'm sure at this point you're wondering, like, how much traveling can one person do? How do you have to like mentally and physically prepare for this? And basically, it's all the regular things like stay hydrated. The one thing I was really happy throughout this whole trip, even through the wedding ceremonies, I did not drink too much alcohol at all because my body was already feeling the jet lag and everything. Also, don't eat raw vegetables, eat all cooked food, don't drink raw milk, and I drank all bottled water. So while I was very tired, I was feeling healthy. Take your vitamins, bring them with you. Sleep in the car is plain, like try and sleep whenever you can as much as possible. When we did finally arrive back in Punjab at my fiance Sagar, his hometown, we slept the whole next day, literally the entire day. We were both just exhausted from all that traveling. So that is my health tangent. Now I'm going to get into the wedding details. So for those of you who don't know, Indian weddings are typically at minimum 3 days long and can go up to a week. This one was about 4 days, including all the events. So I didn't know this before going, but closer family are invited to certain events, and then certain events like everyone's invited to, they're a little bit bigger typically. So the first night event was the Mendi, and that is where they do the henna. I know it's also typically a morning event too, so it could be interchangeable. And we just danced, partied, celebrated their love. And then the second day, we relaxed during the day, and then at night we had the Sangeet, which is their engagement party. They exchanged jewelry and had some rituals there. And then again, we partied and celebrated. That's going to be a common theme throughout all these events, the partying and celebrations. And then the following morning, this is the actual day of the wedding that we're talking about now. They had a haldi celebration in the morning, which if you've ever seen any pictures of Indian weddings, it's the day that they all wear yellow and we smear turmeric on the bride and groom's face. We did a few different rituals there. This was a brunch ceremony. And then we, again, partied and ate food and celebrated. And then later that night was the actual wedding celebration, the Indian wedding, and the Bharat procession. So the Bharat procession is when the groom comes in on a horse and then he bargains with the little sister and her family to let him meet the bride. There's just all these cool and sweet rituals and traditions that they did. That was one thing I was surprised about. I knew they were obviously like very cultural and very different from American weddings from what I had experienced and heard in the past, but there were so many rituals and traditions that I didn't fully understand until you actually saw them happening, but they were super cool. There were a few things I wasn't expecting at the Indian wedding from only previously attending American weddings. And some of it was a little bit more casual than I had expected. In American weddings, I feel like you can hear a pin drop. But during some of the ceremonies and everything, people are still like walking around, whispering, talking a little, taking pictures. And that's just a normal part of their culture. All the food was buffet style, but it was the most amazing food I had ever tasted. There were so many options. There were constantly throughout the whole event people passing around appetizers. So it wasn't just like a cocktail hour and then it was done. It was throughout the whole event. People were coming up to you. You were constantly being waited on. Like anything you needed was like that. So I think that's a difference that I experienced. The hospitality in India for sure is unmatched, especially attending any weddings there. Like I remember this one time I was just standing up. We were with a group of women and they literally like brought us a table and chairs to sit at. So there's just certain things like that. The live cooking, all the food was amazing. I sound like such a foodie, but I can't get over how good it was. I don't think I was expecting the music to be as good as it was either, and for them to be playing such a mixture. I knew it would be a fun wedding, but it really blew me away how much they partied. And this might just be like the wedding that I attended, but it was so much fun. And the music they played was amazing. They had a really good variety. They performed dances. I even learned a dance in the short time I was there and performed with a group at the wedding. It was like a couples dance, so that was super cool. I was a little nervous about it at first, but I ended up doing fine and it was a pretty easy dance to learn. So I wasn't expecting to be included in some of the ceremonies and culture and traditions, but everyone was so welcoming and inclusive of me, so that was amazing. So you might be wondering at this point if I had any language barriers or cultural differences. So I wanted to talk about those a little bit. So my level of speaking Hindi, at that time I had been learning Hindi for a year on Duolingo. So I could pick up certain words and phrases and generally what the conversations were about. They also use a lot of English words in sentences, but I can't say for the most part, in a lot of group settings, I had no clue exactly what they were saying, kind of just a general idea what people were talking about. For the most part, I was like dancing or enjoying the food, living in the moment. It did inspire me though to learn further, like quicken up my pace. So now I actually have a Hindi teacher who is teaching me how to conversate better. I learned a lot of vocabulary in the year leading up to my trip, but I definitely want to be able to have conversations next time I return, especially in time for my wedding. And yeah, but most of the people for one-on-one conversations, most of them spoke English, so it wasn't too hard. It was the hardest in group settings, being the only one not speaking Hindi, but they all made me feel very welcoming, and if I asked any questions, they would answer them in English and everything. But I would say it was definitely something that was a little bit of a struggle. Now, if you are someone who is looking to travel to India, but you don't have anyone to go with, you're concerned about the cultural differences, not knowing how to navigate it, or even about the costs, I highly recommend looking into EF Ultimate Break. They're a group travel company for 18 to 35-year-olds, and they have trips to destinations across the globe, and one to India specifically. Since my fiance is Indian, we obviously didn't do this for an EF trip, but I think it's a great option for someone who doesn't have any family there or know anyone. I would personally feel a lot safer and better going in a group situation with a travel guide who is a subject matter expert. And the other great thing about EF is that they have an automatic payment plan, so you could book it pretty far out in advance and pay it over time, so that way it's not an all at once type of thing. If you do decide to book an EF trip to India or any other trip, you can use my code UAErin100 at checkout for $100 off your trip, and I'll also leave my discount link below. So now I'm going to get into another popular topic I get asked a lot of questions on, and that is what I wore, how did I even know what to wear, where did I shop? And the answer is I had a lot of help. Sagar's family was amazing with this. His mom and my sister-in-laws, they helped me so much. They picked out 3 out of the 4 dresses that I wore. So 3 of them were from India. I will link some popular shops though that I was browsing at before. I would just say if you are going to an Indian wedding, order your dresses months in advance because they do take time to ship and then you might have to get them tailored too. Another thing about the culture is it's very modest, so no cleavage or leg exposure. That is something that I knew going into it, but it's good to know if you're a first timer traveling to India. It will also depend on like the family's wedding that you're attending if you are going to one. Some are more strict than others. Jewelry is a huge part of Indian weddings. It has deep symbolic meaning, and I am lucky enough that Sagar's family works in the industry. I'll tag them below, Chaman Jewels. They had a lot on hand already, so they gave me the most beautiful pieces to wear for the events that paired perfectly with my dresses. So I had a lot of help with my styling choices. So one of the questions I always get asked is, how do you prepare yourself for a journey like that? And the answer is you can't really until you go through it, but there are a few things to make it easier. So I would say definitely bring a good travel pillow with you. I will link mine below. I really like this one because compared to like a standard travel pillow that goes around your neck, this one actually goes around your headrest, and it's a sleeping mask and it straps you in, so you're actually able to catch some sleep on the flights. I would also say to bring wet wipes with you, especially when you're traveling to India. A lot of the places there use bidets, so that was always just helpful to have in my bag. Even at the flights, some of the airports didn't have toilet paper. Definitely bring a good pair of earplugs or headphones with you while you're traveling to India. This will be super helpful for the plane ride. You never know who you're going to be sitting around, and it can get quite loud on planes sometimes, especially when you're trying to sleep. So it's super helpful to have a good pair of headphones. Even if you're just looking to relax and watch a movie, it helps really tune everything out and makes the flight more enjoyable, at least for me. Some other items that you'll need, this is more for when you're actually in India, but you'll have to make sure you have an adaptable charger. They don't all use the same plugs that we do, so you could just order them off of Amazon. Again, I will link that below, the one that I got. And then you'll also need dual voltage tools if you're planning on bringing like a hair dryer, any styling tools. Even with that adapter, you'll still have to get a product that's dual voltage. If you're traveling to India from America, you will need an e-visa. It took me about 2 to 3 days to actually get it after filling out the form. I had got a 5-year one because I know I'll be going back frequently. I believe that was about $60 to $80, but I know you can do shorter visa options and they're also a little bit cheaper than that. I can't wait to go back to India. I truly would recommend it to anyone. It's definitely a once-in-a-lifetime experience. My advice to someone going would be to keep an open mind, be respectful of the people, the culture, their traditions, as with any country that you travel to. Do your research beforehand. Make sure you're staying in areas that you feel comfortable in, and as always, group travel companies like EF Ultimate Break are a great option if you're not wanting to go alone and if you would like a tour guide with you to help navigate some of the cultural differences. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel. It always motivates me to post more frequently, and pretty soon I'll be posting about my wedding, all the planning and details, so you don't want to miss that.
I don't know, I miss you.
किसी भी देख